C'est parti pour l'enregistrement de la VOD pour du plaisir. On va tester du coup ce coup-ci dans le cadre de la free party Horace, qui est un platformer qu'on a nommé le GOTY 2019. On va voir ça tout de suite. C'est un jeu bourré de références que sûrement je ne comprendrai pas, mais si je ne les comprends pas, j'ai aucun doute que les gens du chat me feront un signe. Et en plus là, mon Streamlabs qui balance mes réseaux sociaux, c'est parfait. Écoutez de moi cette magnifique musique, la musique du strike. Mais papy m'a dit que non, donc ça devrait aller. Je pense que j'aurai aucun problème de stream. Magnifique pixel. J'espère que je ne serai pas en plein milieu de la VOD. Mais on déplacera la cam en cours de route. Non, non, vous voyez très bien, c'est bien du pixelisé, rassurez-vous. C'est pour être sûr de pouvoir le streamer à 100%, aucun problème. Elles sont trop bien les musiques. C'est une VOD 4K. Alors je vais jouer à la manette. J'ai l'impression aussi que dès que je swap ma cam ou sans cam, c'est-à-dire que j'ai un petit problème, ça va couper à chaque fois comme si je faisais Alt F4, enfin Alt Tab. Donc du coup il est possible que je l'enlève pas souvent, donc j'espère que je vais pas déranger en plein milieu. Alors je peux bouger. Oula, je peux bouger mais il est lourd hein. Putain. J'arrive. J'arrive. Putain. Oh.
And so, I was born. The first people I remember seeing were the old man, the old lady, and their daughter, Heather. After
On voit rien.
Hello, the old man powered me down so he could install some software. I could tell they were nice people. The old man didn't give me a silly voice or stupid personality. And the old lady didn't dress me like a clown. Although for some reason, Heather really didn't like me. Once I'd had time to get used to walking, the old man asked me to dash from one end of the room to the other.
Ah bah ça y est, ils m'ont habillé. Oh. Ah bah là c'est plus flex. Ah bah ça y est, c'est smart là. Ah, on est passé dans le 21e siècle, on est en 4K. Qu'est-ce qu'il veut? T'inquiète, je sais. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Ah, je peux courir! Oh! Attends, il fait un Naruto run? Admirez! C'est moi ou ça rame? Oh non, me dis pas ça là. Bon, je fais le test. Ça va pas l'air, hein? Fais voir. Option. Jeu. Ah, de toute façon, y a pas de réglage. Pas de réglage. Donc, t'as pas le choix. Tu joues comme ça. Quel bâtard, il m'a bait. Je me suis fait baiser.
Next, the old man spent a couple of hours building some wooden platforms. He said he wanted me to jump up them, but I must admit, I was scared. It wasn't until I saw Heather and her mother happily climbing up them that I decided it might be okay.
Oh, le prank. J'ai couru, quoi. C'est sauter, ça? Ah, mais j'ai déjà sauté tout à l'heure. Hein. C'est bon, c'est bon. Ça, je sais faire sauter maintenant. En tout cas, super tuto. Hein. Oh, le bruit. Oh, va falloir graisser ses chevilles. Hein.
The old man then rearranged the platforms. He told me to try to reach the other end of the room without touching the floor. Heather said, the floor's made of lava.
The floor is a lava.
She just frowned and looked away. The old
C'est bon.
arranged some pillows and blankets. She said it was in case I fell, but I think she just wanted it to look more like lava.
Ça marche, amuse-toi bien, papy. Ça y est, The Floor is the Lava. Les petites références aux années 2000.
When I reached the other side, the old man just smiled and said, "That'll do, for now."
Apprendre à marcher. Ok, let's go.
A couple of days after those first lessons, the family had a big meal, and I was introduced to everyone else. The professor was the old man's brother. He was very quiet, and always seemed to just kind of stare at me. He had lived with the old man for 5 years. The house was so huge they barely saw each other. He preferred instead to stay in his room, leaving everything up to his butler, Mr. Deck, as he insisted everyone call him, although the professor always called him Anton. For a while, he called me a yellow bastard, but the old man made him stop, as he thought it sounded racist. Mr. Silton was the old man's driver. Before he worked here, he'd gotten in with some bad people and was the driver in a post office robbery, although it all went wrong for some reason. Mr. Silton showed me a video of his band. I'm sure some people must like it, but I just found it terrifying. Then there was Alice. She was the cook. She was a nice old lady. When she was younger, she had been a TV chef. Then, years later, she had a small part in Coronation Street. Mr. Silton said, before she worked for the old man, Alice was quite a hoarder. She kept old newspapers and bicycles, and something about a poo in a shoebox. The next morning, the old man gathered everyone together to show them what I was capable of. "What else does he do?" asked Mr. Silton. The old man smiled. "He can help around the house." "Could he help me with my newspaper collecting?" asked Alice. "I'm not sure that's a good idea," said the old lady, "but he can do all sorts of jobs." "Yeah," said Mr. Silton, "shove a stick up his ass and he can do Deck's job." Now, said the old man, "we have company," pointing to some important-looking people. Two large men, both called Gary, set up what the old man referred to as lasers. He said again, I should try to get from one end of the room to the other, but I shouldn't be worried, as I had a special chip which meant no matter how damaged I was, I couldn't die. He said it was like infinite lives in a video game. But when he realized I didn't understand, he said he would explain another time.
Ils ont fumé la moquette. Ça y est. Je vous ai laissé. J'ai pas parlé pendant toute la VOD histoire de rigoler. Mais au niveau de la vidéo, là, ils ont fumé la moquette en fait. Ça m'a fait rappeler un certain maire de Levallois avec l'asiatique et le fait qu'il appelait de façon très bizarre, de manière très raciste, on va dire. Et ensuite, je connais pas les autres histoires, hein, mais c'est vrai qu'il y en a. Je pense que ça fait référence à plein d'histoires en vrai. Let's go! Pour l'instant, le tuto est facile.
Everybody clapped, except the important-looking men. Not exactly a cold, calculated killer, is it? Said the man in black. The man in grey laughed. What kind of artificial intelligence was that? He asked. Move right, unless there's something in the way. Okay, said the old man. He turned to me and whispered, they're going to make it quite a bit tougher. But I'm sure you'll be fine.
Oh papy, il vient de sub. Oh merci papy, avec Prime. Bienvenue parmi l'armée des feux follets. Je te remercie, c'est gentil. C'est quoi ça? Parce que tu voulais le logo first, c'est ça? Tu l'as eu, tu l'as eu. Oh putain! Allez, let's go. Je speedrun, hein.
The Garys then rearranged the room one last time. The old man smiled. Now, there's no need to look so glum, he said. I'm still happy with everything you've done today. So this time, I was determined to do him proud.
Alors non, je voulais me sub à ta chaîne, mais mon Prime n'est pas dispo. Et vu que je ne sub jamais autrement, voilà, j'attendais, mais tu le mérites. Je t'en remercie, c'est gentil. T'es pas curieux de voir ce que ça donne quand tu prends un laser? Alors rassure-toi, il y a de grandes chances qu'on le prenne dans la gueule, je pense, au cours des 3 heures. Je sais qu'on va... De toute façon, on peut pas mourir, je suis un robot, c'est impossible que je crève. Bon, t'inquiète pas, t'excuses pas, c'est déjà très bien. Je force jamais les gens à sub, moi c'est déjà très bien d'en avoir. De toute façon, je vois là qu'il y a un truc. Je vois qu'il y a un truc là qui va m'électrocuter. C'est moi ou c'est flou? Même la cam est pixelisée. Attends. Je me suis remis, Moi je fais du pixel même sur IRL. Allez. Hop. Putain, il met la pression ce jeu là.
The old man's friends actually seemed quite happy when I made it through. We might have a winner after all, said the man in black. It's no Killbot 3000, but you can almost see the fire in its eyes. A couple of days later, the old lady said she had a surprise for me, my own room. She also wanted to play me some music. I wasn't sure after what Mr. Silton had shown me. As if music wasn't amazing enough, the old lady then bought me a television set. I couldn't believe what I saw. I watched everything I could. Comedy, drama, horror, sci-fi. Anything anyone wanted to watch I would happily watch with them. Then one day, the old man set up a small box. He plugged some cables into the television, and said, "This is what I meant when I said video games." I played games at every chance I could. I took on everyone. I was unstoppable. I had enjoyed music, film, and television. But to me, video games really were the highest art form.
Je m'attends au pire là. Ok, on va jouer avec des mini-jeux. Du coup, ouais, par contre, la voix off, je la trouve super relou à écouter, c'est très ricain. Bah, c'est surtout très robot. J'ai l'impression qu'ils ont mis Google et qu'ils ont fait lire à Siri ou à l'autre Alexa là, le texte. Quitte à faire ça, autant le mettre en français. Mais bon, au moins, c'est bien articulé pour l'anglais. Alors, en tout cas, on remercie Papy qui va fournir 30 secondes de pub à tout le monde. Avec ses 1500 points de chaîne, faut le remercier. C'est du plaisir. Je vais vous donner 30 secondes de pub grâce à lui. Je vais couper la VOD et comme ça, il y aura les 30 petites secondes comme ça où il y aura du plaisir. Après, du coup, cette petite encart publicitaire, on va jouer à table tennis for tout. Si le jeu veut. Au secours! Qu'est-ce que c'est que ce jeu de merde? Ok, let's go. C'est un Pong! Je vais le baiser. Il va me niquer. Aïe! Au secours! Je suis nul à chier! Non, non, non! Putain, j'ai arrêté le micro! J'ai pris un 3-0. On n'a rien vu, on n'a rien vu. Je vais recommencer. Let's go. Tiens, 2-0. Mais... Putain, merde. Non mais ah, putain, mais attends, à chaque fois là. Mais... Au secours. Mais il est imbaisable. Yes. Alors en tout cas, je vais devoir me concentrer et pas lire vos bêtises sur le chat là. J'ai l'impression que ce Pong est extrêmement dur. 2-0. Il faut que j'y mette. Hein. Pourquoi j'ai bougé? Je suis un pigeon. First try. GG.
Heather's birthday was a couple of months later. Her mum and dad had bought her a camera and arranged a day out by the sea so that Heather could take some photos, although I really don't think she wanted any pictures of me. When the old man asked the professor if he wanted to go, he frowned and said, "I can't believe you want to spend time with that thing, it could destroy the world." I wasn't sure what he meant, but the old man just smiled and said, "That's what you said about the Game Boy. Anton, how about you?" "I don't think so," said Mr. Deck. "The last time I got in that car, Barry crashed us into a branch of Woolworths. I never would have gone into Woolworths of my own accord." The old man explained that the car was old and the brakes had failed, but Mr. Deck was having none of it. So Mr. Silton drove, and Alice came along for the fresh air. I enjoyed being outside. Although, the old lady kept telling me to be careful of the rickety old walkways. It felt like she was telling me off, but I think she was just concerned. As the old man and I stood on the cliff tops, I could see something in the distance. I wasn't sure what it was, so I
Oui, des
asked the
pixels.
old man. He said it was a battleship that had sunk in the 1940s. But he looked so sad when he spoke about war. I didn't see what happened, but the metal platform Heather was climbing on had collapsed. She was safe, even if the rocks she was on looked very dangerous. The tide was rising, and we didn't know how long the Coast Guard was going to be, so I offered to climb down and get her. The old man agreed, but said I should be careful, as Heather doesn't have infinite lives, like I do.
Je pense qu'il faut que je capture cette voix. Elle était incroyable. Allez, go, let's go. Fais attention, ça glisse. Allez, c'est bon, moi je speedrun. Hein. On n'est pas là pour rigoler. Va falloir par contre qu'il graisse les pieds.
And her leg was broken, so I picked her up as gently as I could. I decided it would be best if I didn't run the rest of the way.
Ah, on court pas là? Putain. Oh, il est stressant ce jeu. Oh, ce bruit de ferraille.
Arrived by the time I had made it back to the cliff top. The medics made sure Heather was okay, and then took her off to hospital. A few days later, we all went to see how she was doing. She was fine, but would have to wear the cast for a couple of months.
J'espère que vous appréciez le film.
Once Heather got to know me, we became good friends. We enjoyed the same films and TV. She was also annoyingly good at some of my favorite games. After a while, she became very interested in how I worked. Soon she knew as much about me as the old man did, if not more. We spent the next couple of months visiting other countries, as when it came to teaching me things, the old man always liked to pick interesting locations. He had explained the basics of mathematics to me at the Great Pyramid of Egypt. Taught me history in the dead of night, surrounded by mysterious giant stones. And even showed me science in action high up in a hot air balloon. This is why I was surprised when the old man took me to a restaurant. It was nice, but it seemed very somber compared to the previous grand locations. He said he just wanted to chat, and this was nice and quiet. Plus it was his favorite place to eat. We talked about life, the universe, Douglas Adams, everything really. When I asked him why were we here, why did we exist, he just smiled and said, life is like a game, Just don't expect to be finished anytime soon. When I looked puzzled, he said, well, everyone should have a purpose. So I asked him, what's my purpose? He thought for a bit, then said, so you want to be a real boy? Which just confused me even more. Eventually the old man said, for now, I want you to help clean things around the house. I must have looked unimpressed, as he then said, okay, I want you to clean 1,000,000 things. It didn't sound like the meaning of life, but I suppose you've got to start somewhere.
Je vais essayer, papy, voir si c'est lisible quand même. Parce que non, si le texte est bien lisible, ouais, c'est vrai que ça pose pas de problème.
The old man said he wanted to install some more software, so he powered me down. When I came to, he said Mr. Silton had a joke for me, and that I should pull his finger. I don't think I got the joke. So the old man powered me down again. This time when I pulled Mr. Silton's finger, I got the joke. But it wasn't very funny. The old man then explained that he had installed a special chip which allowed me to clean away anything that was broken. He said it also tells me how many things are nearby, and how many smaller things are in a bigger thing. It all sounded very complicated, but he said all I really had to do was pause, and it would bring up all the information I needed. He then said he wanted me to find and clean all of the items in the room. He told me there would be some chains to climb, but that would be nice and easy, as I just had to press up. He then finished by saying, when I had collected all the items, I should come back here.
Bon, du coup, on va passer un plus petit pour voir. Il y a 135 objets à collectionner et j'en ai 0 objet totaux. Donc du coup, un jeu à patoune, incroyable. Voir si on est en plus petit, ça marche. Juste, je vais mettre un truc parce que c'est... J'ai oublié de lancer, ce qui me permettait de voir le dernier sub et le dernier follow. Comme d'hab. Vous me direz si vous pouvez lire comme ça. Du coup, on fait le test de toute façon, hein. Comme ça, plus besoin de retirer la cam ou la remettre. Dans tous les cas, la scène ne bouge pas. En tout cas, c'est très narré pour l'instant. Très très narré. Oh, ce bruit. Oh. Peut-être que j'ai baissé les bruits de récolte. C'est encore fort à mort là. Je sais pas si c'est la musique ou ce qui est 100 objets récupérés. Je sais pas si c'est la musique qui est encore forte ou les bip bip là, mais la récolte là c'est l'enfer, hein. Combo de 11 objets, ok. Donc en fait faut avoir tous les combos et tout. Par contre il y a un truc, j'ai vu qu'en haut il y avait les objets. Moi je veux les objets d'en haut, hein. Combo de 12 objets. Oh non 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 non. Je peux pas remonter. Non. Ah, je me suis fait avoir. Qu'est-ce que t'as? J'ai pas? Ah c'est bon. Comment je peux monter là? Ah comme ça? Ok, let's go. Oh, qu'est-ce que j'appris? Qu'est-ce que je prends du plaisir avec ce bruit de grincement des pieds là? Ah, oui. Pourquoi tu t'es pas accroché? Ah, c'est bon. Il ramasse les poubelles. Oh putain. Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Faut que je collectionne la voiture là? Ah bah oui. Oh. 1000 objets récupérés? C'est vrai qu'il faut en récupérer 1 million, du coup ça va vite. Tu me diras, dans les poubelles, quand même pas mal d'objets quoi. Est-ce que c'est bon? J'ai pas tout. Merde. J'en ai raté. C'est bon, on voit bien du coup maintenant que j'ai mis en petit. Ça vous gêne pas? Après je peux en mettre en gros, ça me gêne pas non plus, je m'en fous moi. Ah ben c'est là les déchets. C'est bon du coup là j'ai tout. C'est rien ça? Ça c'est rien? Non c'est bon, let's go. C'est
The
bon.
old man then
Mission
asked the
complete.
old lady Heather and I to follow him outside. I was happy too, as it was a lovely hot day. The old man said he was worried that Alice had been hoarding again. She had filled up a small barn with old bicycles and newspapers. Heather said, this would be a perfect chance to properly test my new powers. The old man thought for a second, then said, using the steptoe chip, I should find and clean at least 300 things. When we explained to Alice what we wanted to do, she seemed scared. But after the old lady kindly explained that, well, the barn was starting to smell, she said it would be okay. One last thing, said the old man. If you want to use a door, just push up. When I was about to enter the old barn, Mr. Silton said he had seen some mushrooms growing inside. He asked me to give him any that I found. He then winked, but I wasn't sure why.
Oh! Tin 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 tin. Na, 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 na. Oh, vu comment c'est pixelisé, comment c'est déformé la musique, je pense que elle devrait passer tranquille. Donc du coup quand on meurt ça va. Tu vois on revient au point A. L'eau ça passe pas tu vois. Tu vois que j'ai été curieux. C'est pas hymne à la joie cette musique? Je me souviens plus. Lettre à Élise. Chier. Je sais pas. Moi je dirais hymne à la joie mais... J'ai l'impression qu'il y en a plusieurs d'affilée. On révise nos classiques aujourd'hui. Tellement bien, j'ai même pas envie de parler. J'aime trop moi. Oh, oh quand tu ramasses les champignons, t'as le bruit de Mario. C'est donc ça la référence. Attends, je suis arrivé par où là? Là? Ah, c'est bon. Hop là! Pour l'instant, un très bon jeu de collecte de déchets par un robot. Hop, c'est à moi ça, let's go. Faire gaffe, ça glisse. Le bois, ça glisse pour les robots. Pour l'instant, c'est que le tuto. Oh, je suis vraiment nul, hein. Ah! Ah mais je... Ah merde! Attends, je supporte pas ça. Comment j'aurais dû faire là? Comme ça? Ah ouais, ok. Nanana, nanana. C'est bon, j'ai tout ramassé. C'est bon.
The old man was very happy with everything that I had cleaned. But I think Mr. Silton was even more happy with his mushrooms.
Complètement taré. Complètement taré. Mushroom. Pour l'instant, je suis spécialiste des journaux, des voitures et des poubelles. En tout cas, il y a beaucoup de bouteilles de bière.
All the evenings getting colder. It was the falling leaves that really made me feel sad. As we watched the trees blowing in the breeze, the old lady said, "The leaves must fall before the blossom comes." She had already explained the seasons to me, so for once, I actually understood. But it didn't make me feel any better. The old lady obviously had enough of my moping, and said, "Right, next week we're going to have a party." For some reason she insisted that we were all going to wear costumes. Heather was very excited and said, "I've got some perfect ideas."
Ah mais c'est un blind test en fait ce jeu. Qu'est-ce que c'est cette musique? Ah quelle torture. Elle est grave connue en plus.
It was terrifying. Everyone was dressed like someone else. I think I was meant to be some kind of pumpkin, as everyone kept shouting, "It's the great pumpkin." Still, at least Mr. Silton was having fun telling everyone his joke. And I suppose Heather's costume was quite flattering. After what seemed like forever, everybody left, and things got back to normal. Heather was allowed to watch a scary film before she went to bed, but I had to help Alice and Mr. Deck clean up. I wasn't happy about this, but the old man said if I was quick, then I could watch the end of the film with them.
Peut-être quand même aller dans le film d'horreur là.
And Mr. Deck was taking down the decorations, so I thought I should clean up the plates and glasses.
En effet, je pense que c'est un film d'horreur, ouais. J'ai essayé de me rappeler lequel c'était. Allez, je vais t'aider.
The ear-splitting sound was the fire alarm. As usual, Mr. Deck blamed Mr. Silton, saying he was probably smoking one of his jazz cigarettes.
Mais j'ai pas tout ramassé.
But then the professor appeared. He said that there was something burning in the kitchen. Alice looked confused, saying that she hadn't cooked anything since the morning. We were all surprised when Mr. Deck opened the oven. Inside was a large black cloak and a slightly burnt pair of men's underwear. Suddenly the old lady burst in. She looked terrified. She kept shouting, "There's someone on the roof." When we went
C'est le Père Noël.
it slowly became obvious that it was Mr. Silton. He was completely naked and playing his guitar. He shouted down, "When I finish this song, I'm going to fly." The old lady said, "Oh my God, I know this one, there's only about 30 seconds left." The old man then quickly turned to me and said, "You know what to do."
Merde, j'ai mute. C'est quoi, ça met la pression ça? Avant la fin de la musique, mais c'est trop dur. Mais j'ai vu qu'elle était finie. Bon, bah il est mort, hein. Il s'est suicidé. Dommage. Les champignons étaient peut-être un peu trop forts. Ok, pas mal le gameplay là, j'aime bien. Le fait de mettre un tempo c'est pas mal. Vu qu'il est facile. Du coup faut connaître le jeu par cœur.
By the time I
C'est bon.
had made it up to the roof, Mr. Silton was beside the edge. I tried to calm him down, but he was acting even more bizarre than usual.
Ah bah les champignons on fait mal hein. On fait très mal les champignons.
After an hour or so, Mr. Silton was fine. He said he had eaten some bad magic mushrooms. Part of me wondered why he hadn't doubled in size. Still, he was soon laughing and joking with the paramedics. One of them said he looked like the world's worst clown. I don't think Mr. Silton liked that. So he told his own joke. But that just made the other paramedic call him Marshmallow Marceau. I don't think he liked that either. But at least he was still in one piece. A month or so later, Heather and I were playing video games. When the old man said he wanted me to come outside, he said it had been a year since I had arrived. So, he had a present for me. He placed the teddy bear high up on a wooden platform. He then told me I should try to pick it up.
C'était Final Fantasy. Tout à l'heure. Ah, c'est là-haut? Je peux rentrer? Non. Je peux rentrer? Non. Je fais comment alors? Mais il se fout de ma gueule hein. Je monte pas là.
Try as I might, I couldn't reach the teddy bear.
Mais j'avais raison.
However, I still don't understand what happened next.
Il est affreux ce jeu. Le mec avant de trépasser, il te prank. Il te fout une peluche sur le toit. Entre l'autre qui bouffe des champignons hallucinogènes, l'autre qui fait n'importe quoi et qui se pète la gueule et tout. Pas très gai hein. En tout cas, pour l'instant, on peut dire que le gameplay est très intéressant. J'ai dû jouer 5 minutes en 1 heure. Je pense qu'en vrai, c'est la fin du tuto, ça. Vu que j'ai le chapeau comme dans la jaquette du jeu. qu'est-ce qu'ils foutent à me matraquer la gueule avec des marteaux là? Ils ont un problème ou quoi? C'est vrai que j'étais le robot du vieil homme, donc du coup, je sers plus à grand chose quoi. Donc j'ai été rangé. Fin du jeu. Merci Kaya, j'espère que ça t'a plu. Bon, c'était avec plaisir. Avec plaisir. Par contre, les musiques sont incroyables. Je comprends rien au jeu, mais les musiques sont incroyables. Là, il est partout. Si vous êtes épileptique, ne regardez pas.
Was I dead? Was this heaven? It sort of looked like the basement bathroom.
Sunsura qui sub avec son prime, merci. Oh là là, 2 subprimes. La musique de la surprise, on s'endormait presque. Et là il est arrivé Sunsura.
It was the shoes the old man was going
Pour le
to
film.
give me. I thought I might as well put them on. They were just the right size.
Merci pour le sub, hein, c'est gentil.
The old man's hat fit me
Bisous.
pretty good as well. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if I wore it.
Tu vas rater la petite série.
Amazingly,
Oh!
the shoes allowed me to defy gravity.
Oh
Or maybe
putain,
it was the hat.
ça va être le gerbotron. Qu'est-ce que c'est que cette... Au secours! Ah! 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 Bienvenue! Salut nanar! Au secours! Qu'est-ce que c'est que... Bon ok, j'ai vu les chaussures. Je pense qu'il va falloir que je sorte. Wow, 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 wow. Moi je pense que je vais juste stop, pas le stream, hein. Juste la VOD là. Après ces 1 heure de film. Euh, juste Du coup, petite découverte de ce jeu Horace. Du coup, on a pu voir qu'il y avait beaucoup de musique intéressante, très peu de gameplay. Le gameplay, c'est seulement pour la prochaine VOD. Donc, du coup, celle qui va suivre et que les gens de Twitch verront et que toi tu verras, mais plus tard. Du coup, voilà. En effet, là on part et Captain Nanar arrive ou ça crie et ça court sur les plafonds et tout nu. Alors du coup, n'hésitez pas à revenir pour la prochaine VOD.